Welcome to Canada's podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rivers Corbett, and I want to invite you, welcome you, embrace you into a pretty cool conversation that we're going to have with my esteemed friend, colleague, and fellow entrepreneur, all that stuff, Louis Vandervalk. Well, it's just a rock star conversation we're going to have. I've had at least 5 of them with podcasts and so on, and I want to make sure we continue to bring great value-added conversations to the Atlantic Canadian entrepreneurship ecosystem, and this one is a promised one for sure. So before I get into Lewis's bio, which is over here, by the way, I had to get out of the shades and so on. Lewis, welcome to Canada's podcast. Great to see you again, man, as always.
Likewise, my friend. Appreciate the opportunity. Excited to dive in for another conversation. Like you said, we always have some good conversations here.
Yeah, we really do, brother. We really do. They're lots of fun. And one of the ones, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Lewis is on his way to his 3rd child. So congratulations on that for adding to the entrepreneurial pool for future generations. It's very cool. So yeah. Lewis is the owner of Blue Crocus Solutions. And what they do is they serve North American contractors and service businesses with web design, SEO, PPC, and a CRM solution to tie it all together. And that's kind of just, that's just technical jargon to me. That I go, oh my God, what is that? But Lewis has a great way to explain it a little bit further. So it's ultimately a full service digital marketing agency. He partners with his clients to drive better business strategies that result in business growth. And I love that piece. It's not just about putting numbers of eyeballs and that stuff. It's all about building that bottom line focus. He chose the crocus as the face of the brand because it is a herald of new life, strength, and resilience. And obviously, his desire is to provide that to his clients. So Lewis, I want to tie into that when we start off because you're a brand expert, because you really dive into identity and so on. Talk about the process that you went through to brand Blue Crocus, and what those words, new life, strength, and resilience mean, and wrap it as a 3-question thing. Why it's so important. Maybe you can start with that first. Why do you think it's so important for people just not to make up a name that's got nice colors and abbreviations to it? Can you talk about that to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to, you laid it out very well there and made it sound pretty fantastic. I'm going to be honest with you, Rivers. I did not have a ton of branding background into it when I made the name.
Right on.
You led up to that, and that was great.
Well, it's been nice talking to you, Lewis. Enjoy your 3rd child. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for today's episode.
Exactly.
Sorry,
exactly.
Okay.
But basically, it came from I knew where I wanted to go, and I just sat down and I just picked a name. I was actually going to call it Blue Jug Solutions, because that was kind of when I worked at JOB. That was, I was kind of known for the massive water bottle that I always kept in my desk, right? So I was like, I liked the color blue. There's lots of branding stuff behind blue, and I just literally was sitting down and I said, Blue Jug Solutions. It's got a nice ring to it. Turns out there was a company that already had, it was a water supply company in Texas that had a pretty good web presence for Blue Jug Solutions, and I knew I was going to be working with contractors in the States. So I was like, what else can I do? And I wanted to keep blue and ran through a bunch of different options and settled on the crocus because it lined up with what I knew I was going to do. So there was some thought behind it, but it kind of came together as I knew where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to be that solution for people and something that a lot of contractors, they struggle getting good marketing services. They pay a ton of money or they pay a little bit of money and get promised the world and get nothing in return. And then they're burnt forever because they've been spending $100 a month for 5 years and they're like, it's not working. Right. So bringing that reality to them, first of all, saying, hey, you can't spend $100 a month and expect, fantastic results. But secondly, when they are paying us, bringing them the results that they're looking for. So I knew that going in, and the crocus, it's one of my favorite spring flowers. It always comes up. It pokes through the snow.
Love it.
And so it all kind of combined there. So that's kind of the story that meshed together with where we were going.
I love that. So a couple of things that I've taken out from that. One is the crocus, and you got to have that passion that you live every day with your business, and obviously that's a reminder that puts a smile on your face. That's very personal to you. And I'm sure if you study the crocus flower, there's elements of that too as to what makes it special. But the other thing is that I love that you kind of get somebody hit you across the head with the blue jug and said, "Dude, you can't do it that way," and you listened. That's the other thing where a lot of people would say, well, screw it. It's in the United States. No big deal. I'll never actually have to run into those guys or gals. But you listen to that and you move forward. So I want to talk about contractors because that's a pretty broad, I'll call it reference point. When you say contractors, Lewis, who are you serving as contractors? I know a little bit behind the scene paving scene, but tell the audience about contractors and why you chose that niche.
Yeah. So I grew up, right out of high school. I worked in the space of, doing concrete work and framing. So I'm very familiar with the niche. And then, came into it from the marketing perspective, and it's a wide open playing field. There's a lot of people who are not optimizing their businesses online. So there's a lot we can do for people, a lot of market share there to be taken, for a business like us, and a lot of people to help. So the niches that we help, you mentioned paving there. We've gone pretty hard into paving. We also just started a junk removal business last May, and that is doing really well. And so that we've, kind of teed off of that and made quite a lot of videos off of that. And that's really picking up as a niche that we serve. And home remodeling would be our other biggest niche as well.
That's so brilliant.
Yeah. So it kind of comes together. We were, really focusing on asphalt and then trying to do everything for asphalt, everything from Facebook ads to social media marketing to this and that. And it just came down to the fact that we're really good at Google stuff. We're good at websites, we're good at SEO, and we're good at Google ads. And so we said, hey, we'll pull back and just do those services for people. And then we can branch out into a few other niches. So those are kind of the main niches that we serve. Tree service and masonry, are thrown in there too. But really anybody that, is looking to go out and serve a customer, we can help. But those are the main ones that we serve right now.
A couple of things that come from this is one of the things, I'm a big fan of you and what you're doing. I remember you were having conversations when you were just getting started and I love that you reached out and I love that we've become friends. But one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that Lewis does very well is he also becomes an ambassador for the industry, for his clients. And if you study and follow what it is that he does, yes, he serves his clients very well, but he also helps them market their service. So he's always talking about what it is they're doing. But this is the other cool thing. He immerses himself into what is going on with his clients. And I think there was a paving client or something like that, where you went up, you put the orange vest on and you went down there and you played in the game. Can you talk about that strategy and how it has benefited Blue Crocus and how and what you would convey or recommend to other entrepreneurs who are trying to be better and maybe saying that's an interesting strategy? You live with your customers. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. It comes down to the root of it is a strategy or a philosophy that you hold really dear to your heart is, zag when others are zigging, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And so, the paving industry, as I got into it, interacted with a lot of groups on Facebook. There's a lot of people serving the industry. And so I said, how can I stand out? How can I really bring something to the industry that others are not? And so I said, I've got to go out and, one, just get in there and get dirty and make it happen, learn some of the ins and outs of it, I use it as an opportunity to start teaching some of my clients to say, hey, these are the pictures I got from one day on the job. These are the pictures you should bring. But secondly, it endeared me to the industry because they said, oh, he's willing to get out and get dirty. I did a bunch of live videos while I was doing it. And I did use it as a marketing thing, but I also used it as something that I now understood it even more fully. And so I understood the ins and outs and things that a lot of our clients didn't think was worth telling the customers. telling their customers was, really important to get across. Like they do a really good job. Like the one I went to, it was in Sussex, and I actually worked.
Is that where it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Sussex, New Brunswick, for those of you that are listening across the country, because it does go across the country, and people, of course, are leaning into stories from Atlantic Canada, which I just read today. I know I'm all over the places that Atlantic Canada has had one of the highest population immigration of any other region in the country. So people are looking to us. So sorry to interrupt. Sussex, New Brunswick, which is the dairy capital of New Brunswick too. So anyway, that's where you went. Yeah.
So I went down there and just, hopped in the trucks at 7 in the morning. I left here at like 5 in the morning, drove down to Sussex, hopped in the trucks at 7, rode out to the job. They actually let me run the paving machine like that. They really were very open to letting me jump in. And I just said, hey, can I come work for a day for free? And just get some pictures and learn a little bit more about it. So they got some free labor for a day. I made myself useful, and I was familiar with the concrete world. And so it wasn't, a huge leap for me to jump in. It's quite a different world, the asphalt world, and the way it all goes together, because it hardens up a lot faster. But just getting in there and getting dirty and getting comfortable with, being different was something that really helped. It helped us grow tremendously. And then, in some of the mentorship programs that I'm in, they started implementing it and they called it the Lewis method. And I was like, all right.
That's so brilliant. I love it. I love it for so many reasons. One of them is that I thought you worked there for at least a month with those guys. So you made me think that you were working there every day. So
I love it.
Yeah. And so really dove into that, which I think was really cool. But also the point that you just made is that they loved it. And we talk about word of mouth referral, and, you play in that digital world. But I got to think, from what you just said, it helped us grow. So how did that help you grow? I know you're doing other things with obviously you're practicing what you preach with what you do with Blue Crocus, but how did that zagging help you grow? It's a great lean in moment.
Yeah. So it came down to, I had a bunch of content that I could use, and I did, you thought I was working there for a month. That's hilarious.
I did, seriously.
but
I thought you actually had the job there and you were doing Blue Crocus on the side for a minute. I said, okay, well, he's got to look after family feed. So.
I love it. Yeah, no, it was a day-long thing. And then I did another one a couple of months later up here locally in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Yes. And then I used the content. So I used it to show, hey, I'm not afraid to get out there and do the work. And I love the business. I love the industry. And that meant a lot to the people who were watching me and who were thinking, hey, we'd like to have someone build our site. But a lot of digital marketers, they don't make the connection between, the industry and what they hold dear, and then, what needs to be told to Google to bring in leads. So having that connection, it really was the know, like, and trust factor. The like and trust factor side of things went way up in the triangle for me. And then they would get to know me, more as they went along.
Of course, it's he knows two people who knows two people who knows two people. So, Lewis, I want to talk a bit about lead generation, and I'm going to be all over the place. There is no rhyme or strategy. This is to serve entrepreneurs. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, Blue Crocus has got all kinds of value in many areas that they can serve you. And I want you to lean in and connect with Lewis. And we're going to talk more about the company here in a second. But lead generation, I want to touch into that. How do you nurture lead generation now online with your strategies and helping your clients? Because as you said earlier, $100 a month, no, you're just doing it all. Well, you don't want to say wrong, but it's wrong. And so lead gen. So can you talk about how your approach works? Not talking about what others don't, but why does your approach work to helping your clients grow your business, as we talked about in the intro?
Yeah. So there's we can talk about the $99 guys all day, but basically what we're doing is we start with a foundation of, basically your website is the foundation. Especially for contracting businesses, to have somewhere for people to come see their reviews, see their work, see what they do, for Google to see what they do, and for us to tell them in a million different ways. is important. And then Google business listings are very important. And then working on both of those. So once they're up and running, there's a lot of things you can do to build authority for your website, for your Google business listing, to then say, hey, raise your hand and say, hey, Google, we're over here. We do, such and such a service in this area. If people are looking for this, we're the ones with the authority to answer the questions. So we do that. And I mean, some of my favorite examples are people who have done word of mouth their whole life. We throw up a website, just basically optimize it. And he's getting like 50, I believe he got 50 leads in the first 2 months that it was up.
Wow.
Wow. And that, blew his mind. He was like, these are like free leads. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy, right?
So what do you say to businesses who say, you know what? I don't think that works. They say, no, I don't think people really go and do searching anymore. I don't think they go online. I think they go to quote unquote the yellow pages. Now, younger audience is not going to connect with this question. I'm talking to the older entrepreneurs who are trying to get out of their way and open up their mind. How much is that the search happening online by an average consumer who says, I want to find a plumber. Talk about that journey of a customer using Google now to find what it is that they're looking for.
I think that the stats, I'm a little fuzzy on the stats of the number of people, but really anybody now, if you're going on and you've got an issue, you're going to go search immediately and try and find a plumber that's near you that provides the service, because you've got to get your problem solved. You don't have time to go out and hang by the water cooler and say, hey, we got an issue. Let's, who's the plumber? It's, you need someone, you're going to call them and you're going to get it done. And on the flip side, as a contracting business, if you're not showing up there when they're in their hour of need, they're going to pass you over and call someone else.
Yeah, I love it. So how does let's go back to the beginning days of Blue Crocus when we first started to connect with each other. And I think you were getting going and we were trying to figure out how to do business together, all that kind of jazz. Talk about the first 6 months, because back then you had no traction. And I always love telling the startup story, because to me, that's the funnest time in a business, because your energy and your excitement is high, but also it's swampy stuff. Can you talk about your first 6 months, year in building Blue Crocus, and what was your strategy?
Yeah. So my strategy was, jump out of the plane and build your parachute on the way down. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every day of the week. That was something that one of my mentors told me, and I know you subscribe to that as well. But I was working a full-time job as an engineering design, like a mechanical engineering designer, and so. Basically it was jump in, I learned the process. I really knew nothing about the process of this, in early 2019. So I dove in, I invested heavily into courses and mentorships around the topics, had conversations with you about some business structure stuff. I just reached out to everybody I knew that knew something.
You did.
A ton of questions.
A lesson there, ladies and gentlemen. You reached out. And Lewis, when you reached out, me not included, what percentage of the people said, yeah, I'd love to help you?
100%. 100% of the people.
Lesson. Thank you, sir.
It's people that have gone somewhere, they've done that. I mean, you've had your bumps and bruises along the way, and you want to help people not have those bumps and bruises along the way. And I'm the same way. I'm not to the point where you are yet, and haven't had as many bumps and bruises yet. They're coming down the line. That's just the nature of it. And I'm ready to embrace them. But I'm willing to share what I have learned with people, because I have grown tremendously in the last, what is it, 3-4 years?
Yes, sir.
And so, my strategy at the beginning, to go back to that question, was, jump in, start calling people, start, reaching out for help, but reaching out to people who might need my services. I remember I structured my schedule at my job so I could come in at 5:30, work 5:30 to 5, 4 days a week, and then I'd take Wednesday off and I'd just go around Fredericton, popping into businesses. That was the grassroots start of it.
Okay, and I do remember you doing that. And the other thing is, you stuck to that routine. That was really cool too. It really was about structure for you. Unfortunately, you had that engineering background, so you understand the importance of structure, and so that allowed you to consistently build what it is to where you are today. I mean, I live by many sayings, and you're right. ZAG is my favorite. It is my philosophy. I'm not only work but also play. I think that's where you really get to enjoy things. But I've always subscribed to the basis that when you ask people along the way, and the turtle won the race. We always have to remember that the turtle won the race. It's very, very key. So I want to talk about globally, because scaling is part of your strategy. We talk in your intro with regards to on LinkedIn, your profile and so on. How are you reaching clients outside of the Maritimes? This is an important lesson to people who are building businesses in the Maritimes. You have to think scale if you want to grow beyond the borders of it. So what is your approach to that to build more client opportunities for Blue Crocus?
Yeah, so I have really become big on Facebook. I've invested a lot of time. I wouldn't say I'm big on Facebook, but I invest most of my time into Facebook. I jump into the groups. There's a lot of groups around the different industries that we service. LinkedIn has the same sort of thing. I have focused more on Facebook than LinkedIn.
Interesting.
But jumped into those groups, provided value first. And I find the more I provide value, the more the bottom line of our business grows. So talk
about that. Dig deep on that. So I'm in a group, paving group. I'm providing value. Do I provide value proactively? Do I provide reactively? And in that conversation I'm having in groups, where do I say, if you want more information, let's chat how I can help you? Because can be a potential turnoff in a conversation.
Yeah, so a lot of these people in the groups, paving and junk removal is an industry that I've really, really been pushing the last 3 months, to tee off of the success we've had with our business. Jump in there and add value. People are asking. There's a lot of new businesses.
Okay.
People are asking, should I go with this lead provider? Should I go with Home Advisor or Thumbtack? Or those are kind of the US versions of the aggregators for leads, right? Or what do I do with my website? Can someone help me here? Can someone help me with my Google business listing? So I jump in and I'll leave, comments and say, hey, here's some videos that I've made on the subject. Take a look here. Happy to take an audit. I offer a lot of audits. So if someone wants me to run through what they have, it'll take me about 30 minutes and I'll give them like a 10-15 minute video on what they're doing now that's working and what they can do to improve. And in that, I say, hey, I'm going to pitch you on our services and tell you what we do at the end here, but I want you to come away with a ton of nuggets, regardless of whether we work together. And I'm saying that kind of for me too. Like I preface the whole thing in my mind, as well as for them to frame up that I am going to tell them of our services.
Yeah.
But for me going in, it really helps me to think the more people I help, the more people will help me. And so it keeps that forefront in my mind. So that is a strategy that we've used almost exclusively to build this. Is I can look back and 90% of the customers that have jumped on with us, I've helped in one way or another over the last 4 years.
And so why Facebook groups over LinkedIn groups in your opinion?
Facebook is kind of, where my original training was around, so optimizing my profile from a business perspective. LinkedIn is powerful. I just haven't dove into it with the same consistency. And I think anywhere you go, Instagram can be really powerful. I've gotten some clients off of Instagram. So anywhere you go, be consistent.
Right.
I don't think there's one holy grail. I think any one of them can be a holy grail if you do it consistently. And there's people that do multiple consistently. I just, have a bandwidth that I have to watch, right? So Facebook is where I started and where I went hard, found success, and just kept building off of that.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It makes sense to be able to do that. So let's talk about bandwidth. Blue Crocus is growing. You're growing with it. Talk about your team. I want to talk about your family as part of this, because you talk about bandwidth. A lot of entrepreneurs, young families, older families, whatever. How do I balance this whole thing out? I think for yours, it's a fascinating conversation. But talk about your team. How are you building up? Because your bandwidth as Lewis is 24/7, minus the time that you need to, of course, spend with your two kids now, soon to be three, and your wife.
Yeah. No, so that's come into focus really, really hard in the last, I've been focusing on that really hard in the last 4 months, I'd say. I hired an agency / mentor out of Australia, actually. So they're mentoring us on some of the, leveling us up on SEO and paid ads on Google, as well as bringing in structure and product management to really help us. So that is something that is very in the forefront of what we're doing right now, building out processes, building out a team. Just hired another full-time web designer last week, and getting all of those systems in place so that I can do the management. I'm not doing much of the work anymore. I'm still as needed and inspecting what I expect from the team, quality control, but building out processes, because what we do is not rocket surgery. There are systems and processes to this once you train someone. So getting that set up, because in a month and a half, I'm going to have to step away in some capacity. I'm never going to be completely turned off.
Sure. Yeah.
But, there's points where I'm going to have to pull in, and it's starting already. Like I spent, my wife went down for a nap today because she's getting pretty pregnant. So I take the kids while she's down. We went out and built a snowman.
Nice.
And so having that ability to step away, and attend to my biggest investment, which is the family, and the whole reason I started this is so
it is.
And something that I've realized as I build this. I'm not building this, I've got big goals for the business, but none of that matters if I'm not supporting the original reason that I got into this.
Talk about, what's your wife's name?
Alyssa,
I've asked you that before, and I apologize for forgetting it. But Alyssa, how do you and the Alyssa team up? How are you as a team building a business? Because every business has various roles associated with it to make it successful. Talk about her role in helping you to build Blue Crocus.
Her role has been, I would say, if I could say it in a word, it's grounding me back to the family. She, her role is the domestic engineer. She's got, 2 or 3 full-time jobs managing everything on the home front.
Yes, sir.
And enabling me to do this, but grounding me as well to say, hey, you're distracted around the kids. What do we need to do to get some clarity on that? You're not fully present with me. Quality time is one of our most coveted things as a couple, right? So if we're not able to have those deep conversations, chat about the day, chat about the kids, where we want to go, what we're doing, then we drift apart. So having that, in the schedule, we have that scheduled now where it's, every night we get at least an hour to just talk, right? Or, some nights it's a movie, but having that grounding to come back to earth and say, hey, 5 years down the road, that's great to be chasing the $1 million check, but if you miss 5 years of your kid's life, it's gone. You can't get that.
So what do you say to people that say, well, that's not very romantic, that's not very intimate to schedule in a time with your significant other? That sounds like it's more like I'm an appointment. And by the way, when I ask this question, this could be male, female. This is not about male dominated and a woman in the home. No, there's a lot of females who are in the same position that you are, supported by a spouse in their life. So talk about what you would say to those people who say, that's not a marriage.
I think I would have said that, 5 years ago. I would have said that, it's not spontaneous. There's still spontaneous moments in our life. But scheduling in, we're really, if you're not blocking out your time as a business owner, then you're just all over the place and you're not as effective as you can be. If you're not blocking out time with a spouse, then for me, my default is, I've got to call it this time. I've booked a sales call or whatever. Then it just gets pushed to the side and never happens. So having that structure, there's a lot of freedom in having that structure, because we know,
interesting.
We know that we're going to be able to connect. Obviously not every night is perfectly rigid. Sometimes there's stuff that happens and it shifts around, but having that baseline of, this is where we know we have that time to connect.
I love it. Yeah. I love that structure gives you freedom. And also what it gives is security to the relationship too, because you know that you have covered that, and it isn't being taken for granted. And I love that we're able to have that conversation. When I can have any topic of conversation with you, I've come to learn, which is fabulous. But that's I think is so critically important, is that it is a journey with everybody. It's not silos, and you forget the other part of the relationship. So thank you for letting me take that journey. You mentioned you hired an agency in Australia. Like, come on, Lewis. This is North America, the epicenter of businesses. They're everywhere. Australia, dude. What happened with that one? And by the way, I'm jesting with you, but I love the story that you went to Australia to find the value you wanted. And what was the reason you ultimately chose these amazing people from Australia?
Yeah, so I joined a mastermind called Apex, run by Ryan Stuman. It would have been September of this year.
Okay.
And basically he's got, a whole system for building out your business. The stuff we were talking about off air before, my passion and my core zone of genius is building the branding and the prospecting and sales. So he's got a very good system for that. So I joined that program. There's about 1,500 people in there right now, all focused on the same thing: growing business, growing personally, growing your relationships with your spouse, et cetera. And I met these guys through there. So it's two guys on opposite ends of Australia. One of them runs more of a systems oriented business, and one of them runs, an agency really similar to ours.
Yes.
And I met them. We had a call at 2:30 in the morning, our time, because I talked to one of the members who was being mentored by them at the time, and he was like, "Dude, everything that you're talking about that you're struggling with right now, they've helped me overcome." Like he basically took a fitness business from 0 to, I believe he's doing $1 million in 6 months with their help, right? So
with them,
yeah,
because the systems they put in place.
Yeah.
Dude, send me a link after this is over, would you? I want to learn about these guys.
For sure. Yeah. But so I connected with them, and they were like, "Yeah, we can meet at what was 2:30 our time." Ryan and I jumped on, and I just wanted to find out more about what they did. They gave us the package, and it was exorbitant for us at the time. It was basically a monthly rate and then a percentage of sales is what it was.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, let's go, because I knew we needed it. And in that time, we went from kind of a bit of stagnation near the end of the summer to in December we did 1/5 of our revenue of last year.
In 1 month.
In 1 month, yeah,
fabulous.
Most of it new business, and January we topped it again by 15% above that. And February we're on track. So that's because of these systems and processes that we've been able to come into place. And it was through, originally through that mastermind group that I'm a part of, that I connected with them.
Yeah. I love this story, again, for all kinds of reasons, but one of them is that you never know who you're going to meet, because you are meeting somebody else, and love them or hate them, doesn't really matter. But in The Art of the Deal, it was written by Donald Trump many years ago. He talks about an event that he went to in New York City, and he was dealing with some real financial problems, and he was invited to this charity event. And I'm sure I've been in those days. So I just want to go to bed. I don't want to deal with this stuff. And he went to the event, obviously found somebody there who was at the table that he was at, and was able to broker a deal to help him, give him a leg up to start his journey for the next point. So I love that story. Where's the client that's the furthest away from you physically?
Probably I've got several on the Pacific Coast, so it'd probably be one in San Diego.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, that's so cool. Brand building, reaching out, organic conversations, SEO and CEO as part of that journey. Where's Blue Crocus going next? Give me the next 24 months, because if you do the 5th in 1 month, dude, you're not slowing down. Well, except in a month or two. But where's Blue Crocus heading next?
Well, the overarching goal, that I've had always since I started, was I would like to write a check for $1 million. I'm going to write a check for $1 million from the business by 2027. And that check is going to go to some sort of it could be a combination of things, but something around the homeless community. There's a lot of really cool ventures and things being built to help the community, not just in food, but in how can we better their life in general. So that's the underpinning, I guess, philosophy of why I'm doing this. Obviously, to support the family.
Yes.
But we're looking at growth of, our goal is 10% or more growth per month over the next 24 months.
Well, my bet's on you, man. How I like to have this this question with all of our guests from Atlantic Canada. What do you say? Why Atlantic Canada? And I say, why Atlantic Canada? Yes, you're from there. I get all of that kind of stuff. But what are some other golden nuggets that are associated with doing business in Atlantic Canada for really a business that is now on the west coast of the United States too? So yeah, what are some nuggets you'd want to convey to? Again, this is a global audience, but a national audience in particular for Canada. Talk about Atlantic Canada and the entrepreneurial space.
Well, I caught the bug initially. Going to university, I was around a lot of people who had started businesses. University of New Brunswick is incredibly entrepreneurial focused. I came up through the engineering side of it. There's the technology management and entrepreneurship there with Dr. Shukla. But NBCC has it. There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit here in the city. Halifax is the same way. I was able to go to a few things in Halifax, but it's around the main epicenters. There's a lot of growth and a lot of people starting some really cool stuff. So you're surrounded by those people, and you see it happening, and you see the possibilities, and it's exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah, well, it's the energy, it's the conversation, and of course, there's great support systems that are in place in Atlantic Canada. I know when the pandemic came along, ACOA, as an example, was a great supporter of mine to adjust and build out something that I'm now doing with Cheftorial. That just was like, whoa, thank you. And those types of supports, whether they're financial or coaching or whatever, are just solid, man. So, Louis, I could keep hanging out for a long time with you, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate this continued conversation and how you're contributing to the entrepreneurial spirit, how you're contributing to your own learning, how you're building something of substance, how you're helping people. And that little nugget of, and I'm going to keep it in my head, you put the orange vest on and you went and hung out with some of your clients, which a lot of people don't do. They might have a Zoom call, but they don't go say, hey, let me come to your office for a day and just breathe it in. Brilliant strategy amongst all the technical piece. So how do people hang out with you, man? How do they find out, the Blue Crocus? But, talk to me about one, what's the website address for Blue Crocus? And the second thing is that how do they hang out with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll echo that. I always enjoy our conversations. Always,
thank you.
I always learn something, whatever the side of the mic that we're on. We've chatted a couple of times with you on the show, and always enjoy that. But if people want to connect, it's bluecrocus.ca. And you'll put it in the notes there. And then lewisvandervalk.com is also where basically it's my digital business card. You can connect with me on, a bunch of different levels there. It's got links to all my social media. So connect. I'm happy to help people in any way. And, as you can tell, even if it's a 30-minute conversation to see how, you can find some things to do for your business. I'm here to help.
Louis, keep being a rock star, dude. Keep being a rock star. We'll look forward to the next conversation because this isn't going to be the last one. Keep on happening, man. Cheers.
I love it. Cheers.